last time that we spoke with you. What have the last couple weeks looked like for you, and how have you just seen this offense progress from the last bye?
Well, it's been fun. Obviously, we've produced on the field, and that's been a fun byproduct of the work that we've put in over the course of a long time. It's been good to see kind of our personnel come together the way that we knew that it could, and even in the face of kind of some injuries that have really moved us around, to see guys like Roderick Daniels step up and really be, do a bunch of unselfish things for this team to make sure that we can continue to produce offensively like we need to. I think Coach Lashley said it the best today at practice. We're pleased, but we're not satisfied. I think that we've still got a long stretch of tough opponents here that have historically been really good. We're kind of new to this party, so we got to make sure that we keep the same edge and the same demeanor that we've carried this last 3 weeks. And the bye week falls at a good time to hopefully help improve our health of our overall team and really focus, hone back down in on the details and fundamentals of, our physicality and the things that it is that we've tried to emphasize through the course of this entire year. And then really give us a chance to go kind of into this third quarter of the season, which is going to be 2 cross-country road trips and arguably the most physical team that we play coming up, here in the next 3 games as well. So.
Obviously, see the numbers that Kevin puts up these last couple games, but how have you seen him grow and what he's able to do and how he leads this offense?
Yeah, his best development has been the maturity enough to trust the offense to protect the ball and not take sacks. And that is one thing that I thought we were elite at last year, and that's something that, the maturity of his game just coming into a place where you got to decide to make this throw or not make this throw, and decide to get rid of this ball or hold on to it for a little bit longer, or understand when to scramble and understand when to get rid of it. And the maturity from that standpoint, the maturity to understand that he doesn't have to win the game for us. We got plenty of people around him to win the game, and he's just got to protect the ball and distribute the ball, and he's done a great job of that the last 3 weeks.
What is it that in his toolbox that stands out to you guys as you evaluated him throughout the off season and over the last couple of years, and his development of those tools?
Yeah, he's a quarterback who wants to play quarterback, and that's been the most. I think we noticed that the very first time we went and watched that playoff game. Here was a guy that was trying to execute the game plan and was maneuvering around, keeping the ball alive enough to understand that the ball was still getting distributed to other teammates. And so that's the number one skill set. There's a uniqueness of athleticism that he has, and certainly he's got arm strength to make all the throws that we ask him to make. And so being able to harness the plays that come to you, I think is the biggest challenge, right? So when you're a natural playmaker, sometimes you can force looking for plays. And I think the game of football gives you the plays back as long as you execute within the system and you try to do the things that you're coached to do. And he's done a really nice job over the course of the last 3 weeks of trying to do what he's coached to do. And the beauty of that is football gives back to you, right? And there's been plays that have showed up that maybe we're off script, and he was able to script them up for us and really and the plays have come to him. And he's a natural enough player that when those do show up, that he can take advantage of it without having to force them to take place when the system's operating like it needs to.
What's it been like having Brashard Smith on this offense, and what do you think has allowed him to be so consistent for this first 2 weeks of the season?
Yeah, well, Coach Coop, I know, feels like he's a great coach. It's all those tackle breaking and missability drills and everything. No, it's when you have a unique talent, when you have a guy that can make yardage for you, that's a term we like to use, especially in recruiting. How many yards do you make for me? I can call this play to get you this many yards. How many after that are you making for us? And he's a yard maker, and certainly he's got versatility enough to split out like we did and hit a deep ball versus Florida State and do some things like that. He's been a great returner for us and been explosive. What he does, he produces a ton of versatility, right? We've got a type in our offense that is a radical versatility player, and those guys have showed up. He's a guy that's done that. Obviously, Junior Daniels is a guy that's done that. Derek McFall is a guy that can do that in the future for us. There are and he kind of fits that type, and he may be the prototype right now of what it is that we've tried to do, because he is so explosive and he's big enough and durable enough to handle the load of being a starting running back, and then still be able to give us the versatility to distribute touches out through other means. So it's great having him on our team. It was great getting LJ back and getting some support from him. Derek's continuing to develop and mature, and then obviously the unselfishness of what Roger Daniels has been able to provide for our offense has really made us dynamic in some areas that maybe we weren't even expecting to be as dynamic as we were, and that's been fun. It's been fun to watch and develop.
When you're in your bye week and the coaching staff is having conversations about the future and about where the program is, how different, if they are different, are those conversations when you're coming off of a loss like last time versus coming off of a 3-0 stretch like this time?
Yeah. I think that you're always taking an evaluation of where you're at in your season and what your next opponents, look like, and what the course you're trying to shape the course of getting to the ultimate goal, which is to be able to compete for a championship. Right now, we're in the midst of that, and so we never want to give up. My dad told me this when I was in high school, and I always thought it was applicable in anywhere you get, but it's like, never give up what you want most for what you want at the moment. And you can't be driven by momentary feelings. And so you've got to, that's emotion driven stuff. That's not passion, right? Coach Lashley talks about the difference between emotion and passion a lot. And so we don't want to be emotional in what it is that we're doing. And I do think that losses always can help you be more self-reflective and help you to self-evaluate. And it's natural human tendency to dismiss maybe this detail that we missed when we still had success, as opposed to, all right, we missed the same exact detail, then we didn't have success. Well, why did I let the detail slip the first time? And so I think that you always have to lean into those sort of things, evaluate the details that you can't, that you can control right now. And losses sometimes fuel that. Obviously, we were at a little different place in our season with developing entirely how we wanted to utilize our personnel moving forward than we are right now. But I still think that there's that same detail evaluation that you have to do. There's the way that our schedule falls. You got to be super professional about how you're taking care of your body this time of year, and that's coaches and players, right? And we've got to make sure that we maintain the same creative edge that we had early in the season and the same demands that we have on ourselves, as far as making sure that we can produce the best plan to give these guys an opportunity to have success.
In that vein, did the BYU game kind of feel important for, kind of setting the tone for the energy needed to be the rest of the season, and how the coaching staff went about organizing personnel? Yeah,
probably. I don't know. I hated the BYU game. It was an awful feeling, right? So it does drive you the way that you're going from that. I know I don't want to feel that way, and I know our players don't want to feel that way. So what is it that we can do to prevent that from happening again? And but we were able to. That had been a fluid movement until that point, and it still was afterwards, right? We've still had some personnel adjustments and exactly what we're doing. We've had to respond to injuries and do sort of things. So I think there's a constant evaluation with what it is that you're doing there, and you're leaning into what the future looks like here, and trying to make sure that you are getting through the red shirt measurement through the season, and making sure that you're giving every player an opportunity to get the most out of their career, and also lead to the ultimate team goal of putting us in position to win a championship. So and I think we've been able to largely accomplish that, but we can't let that slip, and we got to continue to self-evaluate at a good enough rate that we can put ourselves in position to win here coming up.
What do you want to see next from the offense? Because there's still moments where there are things that can be cleaned up and all of those things, but what's next in the development of this offense?
Yeah, I think cleaning up is the best thing. I think now that we've finally got ourselves into a little bit of a rhythm with our personnel, now we can raise our expectations of all right, we were desperate. We were moving this guy who only played guard over here to play tackle. Like, let's just get him step in the right direction. Now it's like, okay, now we got to be super detailed about what it is that we're doing, right? So we've got an opportunity to play R.J. Maryland more in like a 12 personnel role. He's got to learn a lot of details about 3 weeks ago, I was like, all right, let's just make sure he runs a cross route. Now we got to be like, okay, we got to be detailed about what it is that we're doing in the cross. Here's how you read the coverage and make sure that we're doing that. I know. So we're getting a lot of movement like that. That's a for example, right? So I think that we've got to really lean into the details. We are currently, I think that we're leading the league in rushing. So we've got to really lean into what it is that we've done from our physicality standpoint and make sure that we continue to push that. I think that we could execute better situationally, right? We're still kicking a lot of field goals, and I'm happy that we've got a good field goal kicker, but we've got to push the ball in and score touchdowns in the red zone. That's something that's eventually going to catch us in a game, and we've got to execute. I think we got to demand execution on third downs, and I think that we've cleaned up a lot of penalties. We could still be better there. There's certainly things that we got to take next steps, and that's the beauty about building each team every single year is what you said, man. We're past the baby steps. We're past the running the right play. Now we got to run the right play the right way, and then we got to maybe understand running the right play the right way, the reason why we're running it the right way. So next time it clicks and it makes more sense that hey, I'm grabbing this guy's attention so I can open up this route, or I'm clearing this gap because I understand I got a split flow coming behind me. I think that there's leaning into the detail now about kind of who we know who we are, we know who we want to be, we know personnel wise how it is that we can drive this thing. It's how detailed can we be now that we know the course that we're on.
The coaching staff talks a lot about making a defense defend the whole field. How do you kind of assess how the team's done with that?
I think we've improved that these last 3 games. I think we've done a great job of moving the pocket. I think that Kevin does a nice job of controlling the ball when he's on the move, and he's made smart decisions with that so far. And so we are. I think that we've really. That was one of the things coming out of those first 3 games that we didn't think we had done, a great job of is forcing them to defend the field horizontally. We've always been a vertical shot-based team, so I think that we put pressure on teams to do that, right? Even BYU was just running everybody backwards. So especially when they run everybody out of there and you take away some of those opportunities, then you've got to be able to utilize the rest of the field. And we kind of keep an in-game hit chart about where the balls are getting completed and incompleted and just thrown in general, and we're hitting a lot of the zones through the early part of the first half. Just while we're keeping that, the distribution of touches is kind of consistent with where we want it to be. And when you have a player like Kevin, who's a natural distributor anyway, that just adds to what it is that we're going to do. So we got to, that's part of who it is that we want to be, is continuing to lean into forcing them to defend the entire field, and we got to keep finding ways to present structure and limit concepts, which is kind of the root of what it is that we're doing offensively anyway.
Just early scout on Stanford.
Yeah, they really show you what appears to be a complicated defense, and they don't have a ton of calls off of it, but they ask them to do a whole lot, and they do execute that at a high level. I think that they get in position. They're not usually running behind or standing up, looking at the sidelines or doing. I think that they are. I think they're dialed into what it is that they're trying to do defensively. They are, I think, top 2 or 3 in the league in rush defense. Something's got to give there, right? And so they do a good job. They play extremely hard. They are physical. I know they're a well-coached team. We got to play them at their place. That's something, not a place that we've been to before, and those guys have been on a stage like that, and our guys have got to understand that it's going to be a different stage, and the further along we get, it's no longer a whole bunch of teams that we're counting SMU as a win on their schedule. There's a whole bunch of teams that are got SMU circled on their schedule, and so we know we're going to get their best shot, and those guys are going to be prepared. And I think we're fortunate to have an opportunity to watch them play this weekend and see how they respond on the road at a tough opponent, and we look forward to the challenge of getting out there and playing them. I've never been to Stanford. Look forward to seeing it.